So we're going to go through the process of how I made a rear mudguard stay for my 1939 Rudge. Here you can see I'm uncorking a MAP gas cylinder. In the vise is a damaged outer bearing for a Triumph sprung hub. Use that because I had it, and also it's about the same radius as I'm looking for the mudguard stay. So obviously I'm warming up the tube. The tube is mild steel, it's 10mm in diameter, 2mm wall thickness. What I'm trying to do here is bend it around that outer bearing, which is sort of about the right sort of radius for the mudguard. But what I'm also trying to do is make sure that when I finish that this radius is going to be the right sort of size for a handle. So not only is this mudguard stay going to hold the mudguard, it's also going to double as a push handle. So this bike is got a gearbox with no kickstart. It's been built that way. I'm sort of going for a sort of complete race bike sort of vibe with this. So the mudguard stay is going to be the handle that you're going to be pushing the bike with to help start it if you're going to do a push start. Or of course we could use an electric starter if that was the case, but the plan is to sort of make it look correct for the bike, the period, and like I said, have a handle to push it with. So I'm trying here to sort of make sure I bend this tube without flattening it out, and again, as I said, to try and get the right radius that's going to sort of match the mudguard. Trying to be very gentle. Very easy to flatten the tube out, so you've got to make sure you get it warm enough so that as you pull it, it bends, and it bends in the spot that you've warmed it up in. So that's the first attempt at getting the right radius, and here we are checking it on the mudguard. As you can see, the legs are coming out a bit far, so we're going to need to put another bend a little bit lower down, which I'm doing here using the spanner. And there you can see a kink on either side, so the two legs are going to come down to where they're going to get mounted. So here I'm using the vernier and I'm just measuring the bolt. This is one of the bolts that's going to be fixing the stay to. And here's a bit of tube I had handy. You haven't seen me produce that, but basically I used a hammer and a vise and flattened out the end to make a flat section, and it's wide enough that it will take an 11mm hole, which is the bolt size, and still have a bit of room around the outside. Here I am, I'm marking it out. Standard sort of stuff with a vernier and a centre punch. And then I'm going to go through a process of drilling holes. And what you're not going to see at the moment, because I didn't film it, but basically this tube is also going to have that flat foot on the other end, and then I'm going to cut it in half and I'm going to make the two stays. So here I am, I'm just making a bit of a radius on the outside end to make the profile sort of match the washer that's going to go underneath the nut that's going to secure this. There it is, nicely polished, all the hammer marks ground out. And here's the tube now. So the diameter of the tube, unfortunately the thick wall thickness was good, but the inner diameter is actually a little bit too big for the tube. So I've drilled a hole at the end so that when I weld it, that tube's going to be fixed there. And the slots down the side were so that I could hammer the end over a little bit to close that gap up so it's a nice tight fit on the tube. And here's the basic shape. You can see the ends which have been tacked on now. And here it is, finished welded. Probably not the prettiest, but by the time we've got the angle grinder on and clean them up, they'll look pretty good, I reckon. Definitely strong enough, and they're not going to fall off. So now we're making the piece that's going to go underneath, which is actually going to secure it to the mudguard. So same bearing, bit of 2mm thick, 15mm wide metal steel, mild steel strap. Nice profile to the mudguard. And here's the stay. I've now cleaned it up with the angle grinder and polished it up with some emery tape. Doesn't look too bad. So it's now mounted on the bike, and we're just offering up the actual part that's going to join the mudguard. Going to take a quick mark and get ready to cut it off. This is a bench vise that I've got in the middle of the garage, which I use for a lot of sawing. Quite handy. Not bolted down to the garage, as you can see, so it wobbles about a fair bit, but it does the job, and it's pretty handy for things like that. So now I'm going to mark and drill a series of holes in this, and I think the idea is going to be I'm going to use some aluminium rivets, and once this has been painted, it's going to get riveted to the bare aluminium mudguard, and that's going to be the sort of look I'm going for. So it's going to be held with 3 rivets, so you'll just see me drill 3 holes in my other trusty bench vise. Not quite sure why I'm always using this one, but and here's me fitting a rivet, and there it is on the bike. You can see the 3 holes. It's not tacked to the top, the actual main tube yet. We're just offering it up. I've put the scallops in it to make it fit round the tube. And now I've moved the stay out of the way. Oh, I've drilled the holes in it, in fact. Drilled 1 hole. And now we're going to drill the 2 the other way. And I'm going to try and do this without drilling a hole in the tyre. So, going to be gentle. So you're going to see now, wouldn't recommend this, but I'm sacrificing my finger underneath, just to be very sure that I'm going to get my finger, not the tyre. Just making sure it's a perfect line up. Another rivet. So I'm only putting these in temporary at the moment, just to make sure everything's in the right place before I get round to tacking this on. So you're not going to see it in the video, but I've got a TIG welder. So I'm going to push the back of the bike over to where the TIG welder is, and I'm going to TIG that flat strap to the tube, so I get it all in the right place and all the right orientation and the right gap between the bottom of the mudguard and the tyre for the look I'm going for. And there it is, welded up, cleaned up, fettled. You could possibly pick out the fact that the flat strap is at a bit of an angle to the handle. That's just the way the mudguard sits. Here are the ends. These have also got a little bit of a kink, if you can make that out, tipping them inwards, and they're different lengths as well, which surprised me. So to make all this work, because of the offset of the wheels for the chain and everything, and here it is fitted to the bike. So I've made a mount at the bottom there which goes into the back of the gearbox mount. This one you didn't get to see me make, but it's going to work on the same principle. It's got bolts holding it in at the moment, but effectively it's going to have rivets. And there's the stay in all its glory. So hopefully you found that interesting. I enjoyed making it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.